Live from Break Free Worldwide headquarters in Houston, Texas. With your host, Jeremy. And BBoy Moy.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another Break Free Worldwide podcast, episode number 26. That's right, we keep it moving. And today we got a special guest, one of my brothers from another mother, but really a blood brother. That's right, I want to introduce to you the homie, the friend, the brother, the father, the legend himself, Mr. BBoy Lil John. What up, John?
What up?
So, man, I know we had you on one of the earlier podcasts, so I wanted to bring you back on so we could just talk about different things. I know there's a lot of things happening in the scene, and there's a lot
going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people just rant about and have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And a lot of times I kind of feel like, man, a lot of people just gotta just keep their mouth shut,
gotta
you know,
chill.
and just, you know, keep it moving. I see you posting that a lot too, but you know, there's some good things that some people post that really makes sense and is informative and knowledgeable, but then there's just some stuff that is just unnecessary.
I think that's the give and take, you know.
Yeah, like how do you feel about that? Because I know you make a lot of posts, but when you make a post, it's informative. You make it informative.
Yeah, I try to be more careful. I mean, I think that we've all learned, you know, we've all kind of trial and error, you know. I mean, I think that unfortunately, with the good thing and the bad thing, the double-edged sword with hip-hop in general is like the ego, right?
Yeah.
It's like the ego is part of kind of the facade, the whole fabric of what it is to be a b-boy, writer,
yeah,
DJ,
exactly.
whatever it is. But that also, if it's unbalanced, it can be really bad. And
Yeah.
so in essence, to answer your question, whenever I used to post, I think that maybe at times I maybe was a little bit more emotional when I post, but I think now I try to be more factual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now, because I'm so engulfed with so many other things, that when I do post regarding breaking or hip-hop in general,
You want it to be meaningful.
it's meaningful, and it's also I have less to prove, right? So if somebody likes it or doesn't like it, I'm good with it.
Yeah, man, like it's hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes, you know, you kind of troll the internet and scroll, and
Of
you
course.
see some posts and
We
you
all
try
do
to
it.
ignore them, and sometimes you catch yourself like reading everything.
Of
But
course.
again, like what I was saying is, like, sometimes, you know, I see some very informative and very knowledgeable posts by not just yourself but a lot of other people, but then
course.
there's a bunch of people that are just like, who are you? Why are you talking? Why are you saying this? And that's why I wanted to bring you back on, because I know you have a very strong voice in the community, and a lot of people listen to you, a lot of people look up to you, as well as myself. But I know that you're very outspoken about
For sure.
about how you feel about different things happening in the scene. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a great thing when leaders of the community can speak up and really
For sure.
encourage and motivate and not sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have substance behind what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the downfall of social media, is that, you know, back then, and again, I say it as back then, like an OG, I guess, you know, you couldn't really do that as much. If you were going to say something, you had to have some type of substance or some type of weight behind you.
Yeah.
And now, you know, anybody can just become the pioneer, can become, you know, the speaker, whatever. I mean, they're going to be like that to other people who weren't around, but it's going to be much harder for us, right? Because we've been around for a much longer time. We've seen a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so.
And I think that's one of the things I probably struggle with, because I see a lot of young guys, like, you know, talking out of their ASSs.
Of course.
And sometimes it's hard for me to be like, is he right or is he wrong? Why is he doing this? And I don't want to be judgmental, but sometimes, like, I even know my place. Like, even though I've been breaking 24 years, you know, I'll look at some of the OGs and what they're saying, and sometimes I agree and sometimes I disagree, but I don't feel like I even have a place to even tell them anything, because I respect them for what they've done and who they are. But nowadays, everyone has a voice and everyone feels like they can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's better for people to know their role and know their position. And I think that I struggle with that, because sometimes I want to speak up, but sometimes, you know, it's better off not saying anything.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
it's difficult, especially when people are speaking about you. You know, I know you have that issue a lot.
Yeah.
And even in times past when I've said stuff, we've had to talk and we've had to have our private conversations as
Of course.
brothers, because I think that, sometimes if I refer to something, somebody might think that I'm speaking about you,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And so, we've also had to address that issue amongst ourselves because of people saying things. But it's a tough one. But I think that when somebody's wrong, then they need to be addressed.
Yeah.
No,
I agree
I
with.
completely agree
Yeah.
with. I think that I'm liberal in some areas. In some
Mhm.
areas, I'm not liberal.
Mm-hmm.
I think by general definition, I'm not liberal, but I'm also not liberal with how I perceive or understand truth and how I think people should be addressed with truth. And that is the issue. Breaking at the moment and just hip hop in general. I think it's a broken mirror at the moment,
Yeah.
and that's because you have so many people. So it's like so many trees of knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
Good and bad, and so it's difficult when if you have, like yourself, you have the center, you deal with youth, and then you have your philosophy that not only is just philosophy, but it has fruit behind it, right?
Yeah.
And then you have somebody else who's like kind of trying to do the same thing but has no fruit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so how do you not want to address something like
Yeah,
that? Because
yeah.
there's a lot of that, obviously. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of that going around, but let's just take ourselves out of the equation, or myself out of the equation. But there's even a lot of other people like yourself, a lot of people like Marlon. There's a lot of people that are still heavily involved
Mhm.
in contributing to the community that doesn't necessarily work with youth, but all of a sudden people may think that you guys are not active and all
Of
this
course.
and that, so they kind of have their way of thinking. And everyone's always going to feel a certain way, especially
Of
if they
course.
don't see you a lot.
Of course.
Or if they see something for surface value and then they
Exactly.
place that judgment on it. But, that's why I think it's best that, people stay in their lanes.
I totally agree.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. And that's again, it's just, that's the good and the bad, right? The good is that people have the option to kind of create their own lane, right? They
Yeah.
have their own option. Like, it's a free-for-all, right? So
Yeah.
if anybody wants to hit on Break Free, do your own thing.
Yeah.
Start your own thing. Or if Break Free is charging too much or not charging enough, like,
Yeah.
you can go do your own thing.
Yeah.
It's a free-for-all. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with, like, the whole vintage game, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've had conversations with other people who've been collectors for a long, long time, and that's the conclusion. The conclusion is it's a free for all.
Yeah.
So you can start your own lane, but at the same time, when you start your own lane, you have to know kind of your lane as well.
And not to knock anyone's opinion, because everyone's entitled to their own
Of
opinion
course.
too. They can hate, they can love, they
Of
can
course.
do all that, all they want. But at the same time, going back to what I was saying in terms of like, sometimes it's better not to say something. It's like, if you don't have anything good to say, like, don't say it at all. Especially if you know these people don't have a direct impact to you. So what's
For
the
sure.
point of?
Of course.
It's like if you and I didn't know each other at all, right? And I saw you doing your thing. Like, why would I even talk about you? You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like,
But I think in general, I think that, if we look at the culture, how it started and where it came from, it came out of obscurity. It came out of, tension. It came out of insecurity. It came out of, like, lack, and then it became this beautiful thing,
Yeah.
which we know as hip hop and, with the elements and stuff like that. But a lot of those characteristics still exist,
Yeah.
and it's almost like it haunts the culture.
mhm.
And I think that sometimes we also have, unfortunately, we do have the extremes of people who, for whatever reason of just hating to hate. It's like Pharisees, right? Like
Mhm.
they stand in the way of the door, not to
Mhm.
let anybody in, but they themselves won't go through the door,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's like there's a door to freedom,
Yeah.
and they don't want to go through that door to freedom, but they
Right.
also don't want anybody else to go through it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times we have that within the breaking community, especially because you have a lot of that. You have, we can take something as small as the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
I've had my opinions about it
Which-
as well, but at the same time, I'm not going to stand in the way of people.
Yeah, and that's
You know what I
that's
mean?
another thing I want to talk to you about, because we talked about it a lot,
Of course.
on and off the air, right? But we talked about it on, and
Of course.
last time you shared your opinions about it, and this time too, obviously it getting much more recognition
Of course.
in the media, because now they're trying to make it really, really official.
For
Before
sure.
it was Youth Olympics, now it's like the official Olympics.
Of course.
Like, what are your thoughts? What are your
I mean-
full out thoughts with it?
I mean, I think that I know that for me personally, I have been working my ass off the last few years to so that break can become a benefit
Mm-hmm.
in my life, so that it can be a benefit. So anything that I get out of breaking, it's a benefit. It's not a necessity.
Yeah.
I think before we both have lived that way,
Of course.
where it was a necessity.
Yes.
And we, if we didn't win the jam, we weren't going to eat. And
Yeah.
so that was a good thing for us.
And I
right?
want
'Cause
to talk about that too.
we had to
Yeah.
do that, but
Because people forget.
oh, for sure.
Mhm.
But I think that I think ultimately, if it's not doing bad, then what can be worse than
Yeah.
that? I think that for me, the unknown is the scariest part. But again,
Always.
there. I used to think that life was black and white, but it's not always black and white.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's very gray. And I feel that as I've gotten older, with a family, and you have a family as
Mhm.
well, and our families are very close, and our wives are very close. There's a lot of gray areas, man. And
Yeah.
I think that's allowed me to grow as an artist and as a
Yeah.
person, philosophically, theologically, in my faith, and I know
Yeah.
you can share the same feeling. And so, yeah, it's just I think in general, if it's just like the saying, if they're not against us, then they're for us.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
and do I still question the validity of some people, some
Yeah.
characters? Yes, I do. I always will, because
And that's totally fine.
I'm a critical person.
Yeah.
And you test the test. You have to you question. Well, you need to question.
And there are a lot of people out today in the breaking world that are very, very critical, but shouldn't be critical.
Exactly.
I think that
Of course.
you have every
totally
right,
agree.
every right
totally
to be critical.
I mean, I've been
because-
there. I mean, without saying it in an arrogant way, but more in a modest way. Yeah, I've been there. We've been there the entire time. I remember Mr. Wiggles. Shout out to him. I remember Mr. Wiggles, telling us when we were in China. He said to us, he said, man, you guys are special because you guys saw you saw the. It's like you saw the last glimpse
the transition from the old to the new.
from the new, and then
Yeah.
now you went into the new. So that makes you
Yeah.
guys, special. And I think that there's some valid points to that,
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of different entities popping up out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and I think that some people who are questioning, yeah, I agree, they don't have, in my opinion, the weight to question that or
Yeah.
to question certain promoters, because I've been to some of these people's events, and their events was trash.
Right.
So for them to have the audacity to question somebody else's event, or much less, have them audited,
Yeah.
that's, it's just, there's no integrity. So I think that you can address certain issues, you can say certain things, but have integrity, or not, keep it to the art form. Don't come to
everyone
people's
is-
character.
Yeah, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but man,
You have
you
no
know,
balance. So to answer your question, I mean, I can't say that I'm fully for it, because I still feel it's too early.
yeah,
right?
you don't know,
It's still
and you
too
don't know a
early.
lot about it.
If they come and tell me they're going to pay me $100,000, I'll be for it all the way. I'll be the
There you
first one
go.
to tell you.
There you go. Where's the IOC at?
I'll be the first one to tell you. I'm a sell out. I'm a sell out.
And see, but hold on.
I'm not, I'm
So
just playing. But I would-
no, but hold on. Let's just be real for a moment. You know what? Like, we can joke about it all day and long, all day, all night long. But at the end of the day, if something can benefit your family doing what you love to
Do it, man.
do it, right?
Do your
But see,
thing.
but there's a lot of people out there that are, very contradicting. They're this,
Of course.
but all of a sudden you throw a little stack in front of their face,
course.
and everything changes,
Of
right?
course.
And that's one of those things. I get it. I'm not going to be judgmental about it, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like, kind of be open-minded about it
course.
as well too. So I'm glad you
And I
said
think
that.
that's-
I know you're joking
yeah.
too, but
I mean it too.
But you mean it, of
I
course.
mean it too, because at the end of the day, like, I work. Like, thankfully now I do like 4 or 5 different things that I do to make a living, and that's all. It's all work, because none of it is easy, and I try to make it artistic, but at the end of the day, it's business, and you got to work, and you got to do what you got to do, because we're not getting any younger.
No.
But I think that it's also important to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And man, I don't care what anybody says. You put a good amount of funds in somebody's face, they're gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And I remember we were joking about this, because we were saying, like, it seems like the haters come out when it's payday,
Oh, of course.
when it's time to pay rent,
Of course.
when it's time to pay bills.
Yeah.
It seems like that at that point in time, that's when they start dissing on everybody else who is doing what they need to be doing.
You know what's funny? And now I want to kind of take that and go into something else. I remember when I started kind of working out and doing all this stuff on like fitness and breaking fitness and stuff like that, a lot of people hated on it, and people still hate on
But
it.
I texted you about that.
Yeah,
Remember
and
that?
yeah, of course, and that's why I wanted to bring it up though. And I didn't do it to start a trend or nothing. I did it because I felt like I wanted to do something different, keep something fresh, take on a challenge, something different, you know.
For sure. Being proactive.
But yeah, being proactive with something I know how to do and kind of being creative with it. And when I started doing that, a lot of people hated it. People till this day, I'll battle them. They'll make fun of me. They'll do push-ups on the side or something like that. But I see a lot of people doing it.
But you know what, man? You started that. You started that because remember I texted you.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you notice everybody now is the trainer.
I'm seeing.
So even the very same people who's dissing you.
Yeah.
You know, I remember texting you. We were laughing about it. You know, because the thing is for me, like I'm not a it's like Dave Chappelle said, like I'm not this conspiracy guy, but I connect dots.
Yeah.
And I've always been good with that. I've always been good. I'm really good at observing and just kind of filling things out. But yeah, you started that, and I think that a lot of times people forget, but some people don't forget, and that's the great thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, but yeah, it's and that's the contradiction of people. That's the blessing, right?
Yeah.
It's like the same folks that were hating on you for doing something. Now they doing it.
Well, see, and that's why that's why I'm transitioning it, like from the Olympics, or let's just say a payday when people kind of just jump out the woodworks because now it could work. So now this breaking fitness thing. Now it's working, right? It's working for people, or it's a model for people, and obviously now it can be a great source of revenue or a business model for people because now a lot more people are doing it, which is totally fine. I'm not trying to get recognition for it. All I'm saying is people were hating on it at one point. Of course. People were hating on it.
But I think the reality that exists within, like, and again, I'm going to say this not to go off topic, but there's only one place next to the church that has issues and has problems, that has hypocrisy, and that's hip hop.
Yeah.
Hip hop in church is like
hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's like they have so many similarities, and I think that at the end of the day we're all hypocrites, man. You know, and I'm just better at admitting it than most people. You know, and I think that we all have a little bit of that in us, and when you acknowledge that, it makes certain things much easier. And I think it's very easy to say, oh, he's sold out because he's with this energy drink. At the end of the day, that's your job. You separate the job from your family. When you go home, you go home. Yeah. You're checked out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same thing for me. When I go home, I am completely checked out. My daughters.
My kids love me and hug me whether I win, lose.
Exactly.
Have money or don't have money.
Exactly.
Because they don't know anything else but that.
But again, I think that the issue arises out of the fact that people justify certain actions differently, and so, like, I've known of people who were against certain things, and then things happened, things opened, and then they flipped the switch. Yeah. Right, and then they changed their position, and they changed their position to appease and to justify their means. And again, I don't knock it. I think there's people who have put their foot in their mouth really, 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 really bad, or are doing so at the moment. Yeah. And I think that there's people who just they know
and
what they're
those
doing.
people make themselves look worse.
They make themselves look worse.
And
for sure. But I think even this discussion, because I've tried to take the whole like they them people out of my posts. Yeah. I try to use myself as the example because there's so much subliminal stuff, and to me that's just childish. Like if you have something with somebody, just go to their page, hit them up, or do it in person. Yeah. Which I've been known to do. But I think that it's still good for the younger people because they've not gone through that transition. Right. So you don't want to be in that place. If you're a young person or you've been in the game 5-6 years, you don't want to be in the position of a guy who's in his mid-30s and, they can't build nothing for themselves, so they got to tear what somebody else has built. You know what I mean? So my whole thing is like, just keep it moving, man. Like, to be fruitful is to be productive, Yeah. Like, you can't blame you not being productive on somebody else. And so, But yeah, you started that trend. Anyway.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't even a trend. It was just something I love to do. But
For sure.
you know, but I do sit back and I do kind of reminisce on it and think about it because you know I think it's funny. You know, I wanted to make a post the other day that you know like growing up and you've known me since I was a kid. We knew each other since we were kids, but like. You know, a lot of people made fun of me for a lot of different things. I remember when I first came out, all Moy does is air flares. And then once I started going into like footwork and I was doing all that, Moy lost his power. And then I started doing everything. All Moy does is work out. And so it's always something. Which is totally fine, right? I get it. But you know what's really funny is now that breaking is becoming so analytical, like that you can analyze it. I love how people are analyzing things now. Now let's talk about like the upcoming V1 battle with like me and Flea, right? Like a lot of people are interviewing other people and like, what do you think about it? Or asking, and there's polls online, or there'll be a poll on Instagram stories, and I just laugh, you know, because I get it. It's fun, it's entertainment,
sure.
but at the same time, I'm like, who cares?
Well, I think some people need to be careful.
You know,
I think that some people need to be careful because you don't. I commented on a particular person's post, and the only reason I did so is because I didn't want. The thing is, if it's you and Flea,
you didn't want
like,
it to be one-sided.
Like I got love for Flea, you know what I mean? Like much love to Flea.
Flea's
you know what I mean?
Flea's our boy.
He's the homie, you know. And Skill Methods are like family. We have a lot of history. And then the last thing I wanted was somebody to say something wrong, and then you have two crews like Havikoro and Skill Methods going at it because of one person's opinion.
Exactly.
And so that's the only reason why I even kind of got into that discussion, and then also to speak on behalf of you because, you know, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not there to speak for yourself, but I think people just need to be careful with what they say. Like, keep it to breaking.
Yeah.
Keep it to breaking.
Exactly.
And if you're really not going to be
biased. I've seen a few personal things come out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't comment on it. You know, and but I do read it. I do read it, and I'm just like, because people tag me on it.
Of course.
And then I look at it, and I'm just like, interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's just almost like if. And it could be anything. And it's nothing against Flea. It's nothing against the V1 battle. And it's nothing against them. But I'm just saying, what is the point? Like, what is the point? I almost feel like it's like you're wasting your time. Dude, it's like you said, be fruitful, be productive. Go do something else that's going to...
I mean, and I think that some people genuinely, they just... There's a hypeness to it.
Yeah.
And
That's fine. And I agree with that.
But there's always a danger, especially because... You know, the internet is the danger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I could say, hold up. And you'd be like, what do you mean, hold up?
Yeah.
You know, and I just meant to, like,
you read
no,
everything
hold up.
wrong, right?
You know, like,
yeah.
you know, like, chill. What do you mean, chill?
Yeah.
No, like, just chill. You know, like, it's just a danger, man. But, yeah, I think I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it.
I think it's going to be the best battle on there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's gonna go by fast.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna go by fast, and man, I'm hyped for it. You know,
that's gonna be great.
It's funny because like a lot of people think I'm like training for it, and I just train.
But you're always training.
Yeah, I'm always training, but it's kind of funny how people kind of put perception and how that does, and that's why I was gonna bring that up because you know at the end of the day, like everyone is doing their own thing regardless, you know, and if you're a true b-boy or b-girl, you know, if someone calls you out on the sidewalk right there, you better be ready to go. You better not make no excuses, you know. And so it's like for me, I'm always mentally prepared. Maybe physically, I may not always be at my best.
I was walking through New York one time in Times Square, and I was just walking. The next thing I know, somebody jumps in front of me, started doing footwork. oh no, was it me? Yeah, me and Kay.
Yeah,
me and Kay Mel. And then he just went around, I went around. It just spurred the moment. Just
Man,
popped out of nowhere.
Yep, I've had a few of those too, and honestly, those are some of the best moments.
Oh yeah.
It almost is weird and doesn't make sense, but afterwards you're like, damn, that was cool.
Yeah. But I think ultimately the objective should be to truly be building something. I think that again, because social media seems to be like one of the biggest platforms by where we display that's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes it's all an illusion, you know. And so I'm impressed when it's not an illusion. You know what I mean?
For sure.
When people are actually really, really building, because you can, like, you're good at marketing. I'm good at marketing. I know how to sell. That's always been a gift for mine. So that's easy to do, but it's harder to like actually do it in real life.
Oh yeah.
You know, to really, really,
It's easy to think about it.
it's easy to like display and show like if it's like you're doing it big. And I've heard that because you know we lived in LA, and I
Yeah.
was always like fake it to make it, fake
Yeah.
it to make it, fake
Yeah.
it to make it, and there's so many people that fake it to make it.
Oh yeah.
So for me, I'm not fooled by it. So whenever I see people genuinely like over time, really like you know for example, I want to use one guy like Tails one.
Rebirth. Yeah.
Like that dude's a hustler, man.
Yeah.
Like I see that dude, he's always like
He's always been a
he's
hustler.
always hustling. He's always doing something. And you know, some people could say, "Oh man, stick to one thing." And I'm like, "Nah, that dude's like he's going for it." Like
Yeah.
you don't know if he like, hey, he was done with that. Now he's on to a new thing. But he's always like pushing, you know. And you can
Yeah.
tell like
Yeah.
like what he's pushing, it's really happening.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with like with here, right? Like people could have said, "Oh, this and that, and then boom, you got second studio,
Location, yeah.
and then you got another one outside."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So things are not always what they seem.
Yeah, they're
you
not.
know?
And then some of the best things are hidden.
Yeah,
You know, some of the
they are.
best things are hidden,
They are.
and I think when a lot of people try to justify how busy they are or how much they're working, then they're putting too much emphasis on something that's not actually happening.
Yeah.
And they're losing time and energy on actually putting in the work.
For sure.
You know, because they're trying to live that life of whatever Instagram or Facebook allows them to live.
For sure.
Right? Because there's a lot of people on
A
there
lot of
that
it.
I know.
A lot of it.
Y'all living fancy, but you ain't that fancy. You know.
Exactly.
But it is.
Or you can take specific things as like breaking reels, right? Like breaking reels is like the perfect example of like an illusion.
Yep.
You know, where you see all these guys doing these amazing things, and it's great, and it's a good eye candy, and it's a good video to be done, right? But you see them in person, and you rock with them in a circle,
And
it looks nothing like what they-
exactly, and that's why I loved the early days when we had solo videos. Like
Yeah.
I had a solo video, you
Yeah,
had a solo
yeah.
video. I mean, you watched 45 minutes to an hour
Yeah.
of straight different things.
Yeah,
Throughout
different-
the whole video,
in
it's not
different
it's not
cities,
a
different
it's not a
countries.
1 minute Instagram clip of all your best stuff. Like
No
this
doubt.
was, a tour and a journey of our life and everything that we've done and,
For sure.
and different things. And so, yeah, it's crazy, man. Because nowadays, people post their best clip, and now all of a sudden,
That's
you
it.
got a whole, you got kids that have 80,000 followers, and now that,
Yeah. And I think that's
and it's cool, it's cool.
I mean that's the challenge I think for the new people to decipher and to discern that. Like I think that this generation has been afforded a lot because of the work that's been done by ourselves, but also
Mhm.
even those before us did afforded it to us, right? But when let's take ourselves for example. We came after, which is I would consider us being the third generation. First generation being like guys in the 70s and the
Mhm.
80s and the 90s,
Yeah,
right? So I consider me and you like third generation.
right.
And but when we came on, like we still had to discern
Yeah.
the generation before us.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting people from the generation before me, and me being disappointed.
Yeah.
And then having spoken with people and getting, this history and then that history, and it was a totally different history, but they're from the same city,
Yeah.
same neighborhood. And I think that's going to be the challenge for new people now, is that although they have been afforded this big feast of
Yeah.
of opportunities, or even just something like the Olympics, right? That is still that I think is still a great opportunity. Ultimately, it's still going to be a challenge for people to discern, just to discern for themselves what is
Yeah.
right for them, what is not right for them, and who to allow to be a voice and who not to allow to be a voice. That's always the greatest challenge.
Yeah, and for that reason, I want to shout out like all the people that we looked up to
For sure.
growing up. People like Rocksteady, Style Elements,
Rocksteady, Style Elements,
Storm, Swift Rock,
Enemy Squad,
Suicidal Lifestyle. I mean, there's
Sidewalk Breakers.
Sidewalk Breakers,
Let's shout out some people from Houston.
Air Force Crew,
From here we have Break Force, who was from the north side. We have Chaos.
Chaos
from the
Crew.
north side.
Actually, I just hit up Vamp and I was like, dude,
Oh, nice.
I want to do an
Chaos.
episode with Chaos on
Yeah,
here.
because when I started breaking, they were already like the best here in Houston.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we had Street Style,
Street Style, 3D.
3D.
Yeah. So there are a ton of crews that what I'm saying, that were big inspirations to us. And I know a lot of times we talk about ourselves and we talk about how we grew up, but we're inspired by a lot of people.
Of course.
And for everybody that's watching or tuning in, listening or whatever, that sometimes we may not get to say it as much because we've become very good friends and we see each other a lot, but that never goes anywhere. That respect is always there, regardless
sure.
whether we talk or we stop talking or whatever.
No
Like
doubt.
you guys have always been a big inspiration to us and our original crew, Havikoro.
For sure.
So we're very thankful for that. But I want to go back into that a little bit, because earlier we were talking about, people forget that, like, when we used to do battles and like we wanted to win because we had to, pay for something, and we were talking about this earlier because it's crazy because, as you get older, you get to, and you have other sources of revenue or income, now breaking is a little bit more fun. It's not as stressful, you know what I mean?
For sure.
It may be a little harder to do because we're older,
course.
but at the same time, it's there's just more fun. There's more there's more creativity with it, because early on, it's like when we lost a battle, we would get really upset.
Very upset.
We would get really upset, and it's mostly because we wanted that money.
Of course.
We wanted to win that first place prize.
Of course.
But now, as I got older, even in the past recent years, I feel like battles have become easier for me, whether I win or I lose.
For sure.
And it's all because I don't rely on it.
Of
You know,
course.
I don't rely on that money. But nowadays, a lot of kids are relying on winning. So
well,
like,
I think aside from winning, I think it's because it's. I remember when we started. When we would do when we did BBoy Summit '99, and we even lost first round,
Yeah.
and we did all these battles. Like, I think now people, it's like they can do a projection
yeah.
of what they, like, their vision of where they want to get to. So say, okay, if I can win this
What
specific
success
event,
is to
if I
them.
can win this event, then that's going to allow me for the next few years to do this, right? And I think that's kind of the difference. For us, we didn't really have that. We just had, like, okay, we need to win to make money for this week,
Yeah.
and then eat, and then do our thing,
And then figure it out once
then,
that's done.
and then figure it out. You know what I mean? And then there was sometimes there wasn't a second place or a third place. So yeah, there's some,
Yeah, it
there's
was
some
very
interesting
rare.
things.
I think at the time the only event that offered a second place was Lords of the Floor.
Yeah,
Because I remember when we lost to El
Yeah,
Nino and
yeah,
K-Mel,
yeah, they owe us
we were
money.
like, yeah.
they owe us money.
I remember we were on the plane, we're like, damn, they got $2,000 each first place, and we got $500 each, and we're like,
They had our 1,500.
damn. Yeah, I know y'all lost that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
know
know,
y'all
they
lost
know.
that, because we should have got that.
It's all good though. They got it in
In Vegas.
They got it in Vegas.
Yeah, they got it in Vegas. It was like a few weeks later, right?
Yeah, a few weeks later.
Yeah, it was crazy. We were so pumped up, and we had to go in there and kill it.
Man, yeah, I think I have that footage.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have that
Yeah, I've
footage.
been wanting to watch that. I remember that day was, yeah, we were
I
wilding
stayed
out.
up to
We were
like 5
freestyling
in-
a lot.
Yeah, I stayed up to like I stayed up to I think 5 in the morning because I needed to get the footage from Joe Coy,
Yeah.
and I knew if I didn't get it that night, I wasn't gonna get it. I even think I got it, but without the
That footage,
volume.
I don't think has ever been out. I don't
No.
think no one has ever
No.
seen the
And
footage
it's-
besides the clips that we use
Yeah,
for our video.
For our videos, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't even know what that footage is
They
from.
don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, our boy Joe Coy used to do
Events.
a event called Illest in the Game, and the first Illest in the Game that we did in Vegas, we did an exhibition battle against Style
2001?
Elements. Yeah, 2001. 2001, 2002.
Exhibition.
Yeah, we did an exhibition.
It
It
was,
was
Crumbs.
me, you, and Jesse,
And Crumbs, Ariston,
and Stunts. Yeah,
Yeah, shout out to them.
yeah. It's yeah. And the week before that, we were in Japan. Me and you
We're
were in
Japan.
Japan with Crumbs and Remind
And was it Easy Rock?
and Easy Rock.
So that was the time. Remember we did that jam in the park,
yeah,
B-boy in the park.
Yeah.
And Guru
Guru was
Gangstar
judging
was judging
with Crazy Legs.
with Crazy Legs.
And that squad, I mean, we battled a lot of people, but it was me, you, Easy Rock,
Yeah.
Crumbs, and Remind.
Remind.
How legendary is
Man,
that?
that was heavy.
Yeah,
Heavy.
and so we put it on to everybody.
Yeah, it was a good.
But it
time.
was funny because we were all hanging out for like a week in Japan, and then next thing you know, we're doing an exhibition battle against the
Yeah.
guys that we were just.
And that was very interesting because that was my first time being like around Legs and around Easy Rock.
Mhm.
And meeting around Easy Rock was really, really big for me.
Yeah,
Because like Easy Rock,
yeah, he
for
was
me,
like my first inspiration.
like honestly, hands down, foundation wise, he is it.
Yeah,
Like, there's nobody else who can touch him
No.
on the foundation tip.
no,
Like his steps were so clean. His 6-step.
everything, his power.
I mean, my 3-step, which is my favorite step, was inspired by him.
Yeah,
And yeah, his power inspired me from B-Boy Summit 5.
Yep.
Was it? And then there was like a Tribal video. Shout out to Tribal who
Yeah.
sponsors us.
Yep.
We haven't talked to in a bit. But
Shout out to Bobby
to Bobby
and Carl.
and Carl, who used to be there. But shout out to Bobby for sure. They've always supported the scene, supported us. But I remember just being around Easy Rock, and I remember just watching him on clips because it was a tribal video.
Yeah.
And it was that Electric Boogie.
Yep.
And he had that outfit with the jersey.
Yeah.
And he had that. It was kind of like a swipe to flare to headspins. Yeah, Easy Rock was the man. But I remember hanging out with him, and it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah, we can't talk about those stories.
Yeah, we can't talk about those.
But it was fun.
Yeah,
it was
good times.
Definitely fun. But
Really good times.
yeah, man, we had a lot of good times back in the day, and it's crazy, because sometimes people, they don't even know who we are. Like young kids today. Like I remember there was you know him, the kid Zebra.
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember when he first moved to Houston and he was out here and he started coming to Break Free. I remember he didn't know who I was, but he knew who Jeremy was.
Yeah.
And then
it's crazy.
and yeah, it was nuts, and then he was like, yeah, like, man, we look up to Jeremy, we do this, we do that, but he did not know who like you or I or some of the older heads he didn't know,
Right, I remember when we were we were at Miami, and I mentioned Thunder.
Yeah.
And Gravity didn't know who Thunder was.
Yeah, Gravity didn't.
And it just like blew me away. I was like,
it's funny. I gotta, kind of off track, but I got a funny story about Gravity. We were doing a show in Vegas for Monster, and Rozelle, he's sponsored by Monster, and he was doing the show with us. And so after the show, Gravity's like, yo, I'm gonna ask him to get a picture. I said, yeah, it's cool. Go ahead, get a picture or whatever. And he goes up to him and he goes, hey, yo, Biz, can I take a picture?
Oh my
Can
God.
I take a picture with you?
That's
and
the
I was
worst.
like, no, dude, it's Rozelle.
Wow.
Like he just
Thought it was
confused
Biz
him for
Markie.
Biz Markie.
Wow.
I'm like, I think that's the worst thing you can do.
Biz Markie is a dope DJ too.
Yeah.
He has these because I follow him. I've been following him for a long time, but because I DJ too, he has these 45 like 12s, like MK2s type turntables, but they're like 45 players.
Yeah.
And everybody's been trying to like buy them from him. He's the only one who has them. Super
Dude,
dope.
I saw something, and we're gonna just talk randomly here, but I saw something and I thought about it, but then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hold it off for Little John.
Was it that big boombox that you're supposed to give me?
Well, I saw it's something along those lines, but you have to buy it. It's on offer up.
Oh, let me see.
Hold on.
Let me get in trouble with my wife. I actually just bought something today.
Yeah, so
They probably got me in trouble.
for everybody listening, like, we're big. I mean, I love old school boom boxes, and John, obviously he's a vintage collector and collects a lot of vintage
All kinds of stuff,
oriented items and stuff like that. So I
I'm
wanted to show him something.
Kid.
I hope it comes up because it was there. Basically, it was a old school boom box that had a record, like a record player in it.
Really?
Yeah.
On top or in the middle?
No, in the middle. Like it pulled out. It's gone.
Really?
It's gone. Wait.
How much was it?
It wasn't that much. It was like less than $100.
Dang.
Yeah, it's gone.
That's something I
Dang
get in
it.
trouble with my wife for.
Anyways, it was fresh, and then I was like, man, when I see John, I meant to tell you and I forgot, but yeah.
Actually, I told Roxy that I saw this Carhartt display at the store. I need to give her the address, but she could like switch it up and like put her own stuff on it.
Well, it would be dope to get it, and if she does a bunch of like custom Carhartt stuff,
And then she could also like switch it, and they're only selling it for like $60.
Really?
And it's like it's like
reminder,
yeah,
let us know where it's at. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I think that with everything that we've talked about, we have come a long way, and we're continuing to do different things. And I think a lot of people are misled because they don't see what they want to see, right?
Of course.
But at the end of the day, we're our heads are down, and we're working hard, and we're trying to take care of our families.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important part, because if I die, what does it benefit my daughters if I won like a debate with some guy online,
or you want a B-boy title,
or I won a trophy is not going to help them.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, and those are all great things that are for my self edification. But I think now I'm at a place, and I know that you are also in a place where it has to be things that bless the family.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember just maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, like just going at it like with 5 different people
Right.
on my instant message.
Yeah.
You know, like debating 5 different people. You know,
Yeah.
and they think they're the only ones that I'm debating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then just realize that like time's flying, time's passing you by, and do you want to enjoy breaking, or do you want to just argue about breaking?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because time's flying.
Yeah.
Time's just moving.
And that's why the idea of really respecting time is important. I think people don't respect time, and what I mean by that is by really utilizing time correctly. Because like earlier, I was here in the office, and I was talking to Josh and my sister, and I was just like, man, time flies.
Quick.
It's like you're here. Like, let's just say we get here at 9 a.m. Next thing you know, it's near noon, and it's like, dang, what happened?
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, it's like
Yeah,
it's
man.
Friday, and all of a sudden it's gonna be May, and
It's
then
like
June.
it's like once you graduate, it's like the clock starts ticking faster.
Man.
You know what I mean? Like it just starts moving much
So-
faster.
So if there's any advice that you can give people watching, or people that are inspired by you or us, like, is there anything that you can give them? Like, I want you to share something very meaningful, something that means a lot to you, something that recently has impacted you differently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just the importance of how fast time is running. I sometimes like sit to myself, and I'm very introverted in a way that I like to be by myself a lot, and that's why I kind of create my own little world with what I do. And that's good and bad, But my wife always tells me you need to have friends. But I think I just I realized that we're getting older, and with getting older, death is a reality.
Yeah.
Although I believe that this may be a little different, but I believe that there will be a people that will defeat death. They will not die. I think that that's a possibility, and that's more from a theological, biblical perspective. But I think that if we don't get to that, if I'm not able to live that long to see that, I think that death is inevitable, and
Yeah.
I think that it comes for everybody.
Yeah.
I think that as I think about that, and I think about it this way, how long does it take for one generation to die off?
Right.
You know what I mean? The lifespan used to be, what was it, like much older. Now it's like, what, 60 maybe?
Yeah.
It used to be like 80 something.
It used to be like 80
it's
to
like
nearly 100
yeah,
years old.
now it's like, it's gone down. Like
Yeah.
my grandfather, my dad's father in Mexico, he was 101 when he passed away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's a long life.
It
That's a
is.
long
It
life
is.
to live. I think if I get to see that type of long life,
Yeah.
it'd be great. And sad at the same time, because you see everybody else die off. So I think that when you put that perspective to your reality,
Yeah.
and you say like, I could die today,
Yeah.
and what am I gonna leave behind?
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna leave back to my kids and to my wife, and like what is really gonna matter? And I think that when you begin to see it from that place, then because when you're young, you don't think of that.
It's either going to make you step up
Yeah.
or give up.
So I think that when you're young, especially if like anybody is in their teens, and even in their early 20s, mid 20s, you still have a long life ahead of you. And so it's easy to say, I have time, but time flies very, very fast.
Yeah.
And then within the midst of that time, not everything goes according to plan.
Yeah.
And not only does it go according to plan, but things happen. Life happens.
And I think that you're spot on with that. I think a lot of people are always like, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to get, but sometimes you're not going to get what you want. You can work towards it, and
Yeah.
I advise everybody to work towards their goals
Sure.
and stuff like that, but sometimes that shifts.
It does.
That shifts, and you may not ever get that. And so, I was having a talk with somebody the other day about like setting goals, and they're always dreaming big, and it's good to dream big. I dream big as well,
Mhm.
but I also set a lot of little small dreams and
course,
goals in
of course.
between, so that if I don't reach this big expectation
Yeah.
or this big goal, I won't be disappointed, and I won't
sure.
feel like I failed. And going off what you're saying
I
is,
agree.
you have to, when people say, live life to the fullest and all this stuff, like, no, like really live life and do something productive and make
Yeah.
some good things happen for yourself while you're
Yeah.
still here.
Because I
and
think life
make
is,
an impact.
Because social media thrives off of very great quotes. I think that for the most part, a lot of us are good at that. You know,
Mhm.
it's. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's thoughtful to come up with great quotes that are thoughtful and they inspire. But real life is more than just quotes, you know,
Mhm.
and it's gonna take a lot more than that. And so, I think that for me has been very, very impactful. You know, there's a song that I listen to all the time. Often it's what's that? Liam Womack, that song. It's like
Which
a
one?
slow song.
Alright.
It's like a slow song.
What's up? Can I pull it up?
It's,
I don't know. We might get shut down.
Yeah,
Get
no,
a YouTube.
no, it's a
copyright.
Liam Womack song. It's like a country song, but it's very what is it called? Shoot. Anyhow, it's like a country song, but it's a really, really nice song. I actually used it on one of my videos.
Okay.
When Toys R Us closed, I did like a drone shot and I used it on there. But anyhow, every time I listen to the song, for whatever reason, like I think of like my funeral. Like I
Yeah.
think of like if I was like gone,
Yeah.
and if God allowed me to like stand at my funeral, like what would that feel like?
Mhm.
You know? And I don't know if that's even like, maybe that's a suicidal thought, maybe that's not great.
No, I mean,
but
it's
you know, I think for me,
a real thought.
it's always like giving me that perspective. But you also touched on something too, which has always also been a constant struggle, and that's vision.
Mhm.
You know, I think that vision is a difficult part
Mhm.
because visions change. You know, the difficulty is knowing when to change the vision. You know, when it's not clear. You know, and I think that if you're like me, that was born, you know, unplanned, that kind of already sets you on a
Mhm.
path of like no plans.
Mhm.
And so that's always been a challenge for me. I think now I'm at a place now where, after being bombarded by my wife, and you know, she's always like vision, 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 and
Yeah.
so I think that now with vision is very, very important.
It is.
Very, very
I
important.
like something that, and I can't quote him exactly, but I read something that Bill Gates quoted, and he was saying something about like if you're born poor, you know, you have a reason, you know, to basically saying you have a reason to be upset and complain.
Mhm.
But if you die poor, you got no reason.
Yeah, because you know what? Nobody owes you
Exactly.
a damn thing.
Exactly.
Like, and I think that's something that I think in my early 30s, I think that's something that I kind of overcame. Where I said, nobody owes me nothing. I'm 38 now. it's called Landslide, Fleetwood Mac.
Okay. All
Man,
right.
every time I hear that song, dude, it makes me think of like if I died today
Yeah.
and like left my wife and my girls,
Oh damn.
you know, and I just like, it really kicks me. It gives me like a nudge
Mm-hmm.
to because you know you can take life so easily, like where you're just like, okay, cool, like
Yeah.
just it's
being
nonchalant, it's
Mhm.
nonchalant, you know. But when you're standing in front of death, you know, and
Yeah.
you're at a funeral, you know,
Mhm.
and those type of things, it really puts these things.
And
in
that's what I was saying
perspective.
is like people have to respect time and
course.
respect it and do something with it. But
So if there's anything that I could say to younger people is that, you know, because you're young, that's more of an advantage. Do it now. Don't do it when like you're 30, 35.
yeah,
You know, much worse, not ever do it.
yeah, exactly.
You know, I think the capacity or potential to change, it's if you're able to actually change in your lifetime,
hmm
you're living life, because I don't know how many people just get stuck and never change.
1,000% agree.
Never change.
That's powerful.
And you know what? You find that at church, you know,
Yeah.
where people been in church their whole lives, and every weekend it's the same thing.
Yeah.
They don't change.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes like the easiest form of change is just the actual change, just
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah, I heard something a while back too. When I was in Buenos Aires in Argentina, one of the guys from the
Mhm.
IOC from the committee, he's like a consulting member, and he told me, he goes, a lot of people always talk about their problems and their this, and they're always trying to find solutions, and to every problem there's a solution.
Mhm.
But what they don't realize too, if they can't find a solution, then there was never a problem.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's kind of like the philosophy I have with being sick. Like I think that for some people, it's not the actual sickness; it's the sickness. I think it's their belief that they can be healed, or they can be healed. That's the sickness.
I agree.
That's the ultimate sickness. And again, in life, the challenge is always the root.
Yeah.
Is dealing with the root. and coming back, bringing that back into hip hop culture, and especially breaking, dealing with roots, that is probably going to be the most difficult.
Yeah.
Because although the roots itself of the craft and the mechanisms and the fabric of breaking itself, hip hop culture is great. There's also roots that are not necessarily good roots. They need to be rooted out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when Moses had the children of Israel and he's trying to help them.
Mhm.
It's like that mechanism. Like when you're trying to help people, they fight you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know a lot of
That's
that.
the unfortunate part.
But yo,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, man. Thank you for coming on again. I know
For sure.
you're gonna be on here a lot
Yeah,
because I
man,
think
have
that
fun.
you have much more to say than just us sitting down for 45 minutes or an hour. And I think
No
a lot
doubt.
of people need to hear it. So as this continues to grow, we want
For
you to grow
sure.
with it as well. So just thank you, man, for
Thank you for
coming on
having me.
board. And so for everybody that's out there tuning in and watching, listening, whatever, and this is your first time, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always trying to put on dope and informative content for you guys. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Much love to our sponsors, Monster Energy and Houston Media Source, for allowing us to connect to the world a lot more easier and share such dope content and informative material with you guys. So much love and respect to everybody that was showing love. Make sure to follow BBoy Lil Jon at BBoy Lil Jon on Instagram. Show him some love, show him some respect. And thank you guys. We appreciate y'all. Break Free Worldwide. Y'all already know how we do. Peace.
Nice.
Have you ever wanted to have your own TV show? We can make that happen at Houston Media Source. When you walk in the door, all you need is an idea. We have everything you need: studios, cameras, lights, microphones, and more. All professional quality and state-of-the-art. Get started by attending one of our free orientation sessions every Monday at 6 p.m. at our studios at 410 Roberts near Minute Maid Park. Get more information online at hmstv.org. Make your voice heard with Houston Media Source.